there, fantasy owners. LTC Fantasy here. Not sure if you're chiming in watching via YouTube or listening via podcast, but really do appreciate the watch or listen no matter how you're streaming the episode there. Before we get started, do want to mention we do have a new partnership. We've partnered with 247clash.com. Their link is in the description there, and it's a player versus player fantasy game that's made winnable for basically anyone there. So if you do decide to go to www.247clash.com, you'll see a how to play link at the top of the homepage there. And if you click on that, it's a quick video basically explaining how to play the game and how it works, etc. It's pretty easy and fun. I know I've enjoyed it since I've been playing it there. And if you do decide to sign up and make a deposit, do use referral code LTC, and hopefully you start winning some cash. I've made a little bit of scratch on it so far there. And by doing so, you'll also help support this show there. Do remember it is for Canadian residents only at this time. That might change in the future, but for right now it's for Canadian residents only there. Today's our Week 15 strategy episode, so we're going to look at the upcoming week schedule, kind of break it down, find you those advantages, suggest some players to hopefully strengthen your fantasy roster and give you the edge in your fantasy leagues there. Some things to note: Monday's usually a light night, but not this week. 11 games on Monday, so pretty heavy night there. Tuesday there's 8 games. Wednesday 5 games. Thursday there's 13 games. Friday there's 2 games. Saturday back up to 14 and Sunday 5. So with that, really the only light nights this week are Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, as half the league or more play on the other nights there. Do note it's only a 2-game week for Carolina and the Rangers, so really light week for them. Considering there's 20 teams that have 4-game weeks this week, that's a ton. 2/3 of the league basically have 4 games this week. And Philadelphia has a 5-game week, which you only get a few of those a year, and Philly gets the first one this year here. So obviously we'll cover Philadelphia first, with them having the rare 5-game week. Then we will get into teams that play 3 games in the first 4 nights. Won't cover all the 4-game teams because there's 20 of them. Not really an advantage when there's that many players. There'll be so many players that have 4-game weeks. But if you get players that play 3 games in the first 4 nights, you're going to jump out to that early lead. You can drop them after Thursday there and pick up somebody that has 2 games on the weekend. So if you use your player ads right, you're going to get 5 games out of that one player slot there, which is pretty big advantage for you. And then we will finish with players that we haven't covered yet that play on Wednesday, that being a light night. There'll be the most wiggle room on your roster. Won't cover the Friday and Sunday light nights. We'll cover that in our weekend ads episode later in the week, but we will at least cover the Wednesday light night, as that can prove to be an advantage, especially early on in the week there. So basically we'll get right into it. Some Philadelphia defensemen and forwards there. First one is Cam York. He's owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the top pairing second power play unit. He's been pointless the last 3 games, but he did put up 7 points the previous 8 games there. He also gets a decent amount of blocks, should throw that in there. His offense is streaky, but he does have offensive upside, and with having 5 games this week, he could prove to be a fairly decent ad for you. Next one is Travis Sanheim. He's owned in 4% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing there, and he has 4 points his last 12 games. So not the greatest offense, but not zilch either. But also in those 12 games, he has 25 shots on goal, 12 hits, and 15 blocks. So his offense is kind of hit or miss. He was on a pretty good run there about a month and a half ago there, so it will kind of come in spurts. But even if he isn't contributing offensively, he's still going to help you in other cats. So depending how your league is formatted and depending how deep it is, could be a viable option for you. Moving up front, look at Kevin Hayes, listed as a center, owned in 26% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the third line, top power play unit there. And he's put up 6 points his last 5 games. And in those 5 games, he's a +6 and also has 17 shots on goal. He's heating back up again. We all know about his start to the start of the year. He was really hot, then he kind of fell off. Now he seems to be heating back up. If he keeps that going and you get him for a 5-game week, turn out to be a pretty solid ad for you. Next one is Scott Lawton, listed as center left winger, owned in 18% of Yahoo leagues, playing third line, second power play unit there. He's put up 13 points his last 12 games, and in those 12 games he has 24 hits and 14 blocks. It's been pretty nice offensively for a while, and he also helps out in some other cats, as you can tell by the hits and blocks there. So he should be a fairly solid ad for you, especially with 5 games there. Next one is Noah Cates, listed as center left winger, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, up on the top power play unit there, and he's put up 5 points his last 6 games, and in those 6 games, he's a +4, also thrown 7 hits. He is kind of hot and cold, so with that, there obviously is some risk, but with a 5-game week, and if you're in a deeper league, have to stress deeper, might be worth the gamble there. Next one's Joel Farabee, listed as center left winger, owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there, and he's put up 6 points his last 5 games, and in those 5 games he has 9 shots on goal and 3 blocks there. He can be streaky, but he has been more consistent of late, so with that he should be an okay option given how heavy Philly's week is there. Another one to look at is Morgan Frost, also listed as center left winger, owned in 8% of Yahoo leagues. He's on the top line, top power play unit there. He's put up 9 points his last 11 games, so decent amount of production. And in those 11 games also has 25 shots on goal and 15 hits. His offense can be really on and off, but as 4 points out of those 9 were in one game there, but he has 5 points in the other 10 there, so with that, there definitely is some risk. He's either going to be a home run or a swing and miss, so depending how you want to gamble it there. Next one's Owen Tippett, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 9% of Yahoo leagues, up on the top line, second power play unit there, and he has 10 points his last 11 games, so pretty nice production, with 31 shots on goal and 12 hits in those 11 games. Of those points, 4 of those are 2-point games, so 8 out of the 10 points were in 4 games, so you can kind of spread that out. So he is streaky, but with a 5-game week, the amount of multiple point games in the last 11, you should be able to get some value spread over the week there. Before we get into the next segment, do want to ask you, please do subscribe as we're trying to grow this channel. Hopefully you're getting some value out of these episodes, and yeah, we really do want to grow it, really do appreciate the support, and hopefully you're getting some good value, and we'll jump into the next segment after my little plug there. Some D-men that have 3 games in the first 4 nights this week. Start off in Boston, look at Matt Grzelcyk, only owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, up on the top pairing there, and he has 3 points his last 5 games, so okay production, but in those 5 games, he's +6, has 4 hits and 4 blocks there. He is very streaky, but not bad, not great in other cats. So with a condensed schedule in a cats league, you should be able to get a little bit of value out of him, again, depending how deep the league is there. Over in Buffalo, look at Owen Power. He's owned in 49% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, second power play unit there, and he has 4 points his last 8 games, so a half point per game, not bad. 16 shots on goal and 9 blocks in those 8 games. He's been okay since coming back. With a heavy start to the week, that the condensed schedule, okay cats, might prove to be a little bit of value if he is available there. Over in Columbus, look at Marcus Bjork. Only owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing, second power play unit there, and he has 4 points his last 7 games, so a bit over half point per game. 2 of those points being on the power play, 10 hits and 7 blocks there. He's okay, but not great in most cats, so he won't win it for you, but he won't lose it for you either. He's pretty much a safer pick in a deeper league there. Next one in Columbus is Adam Boquist. He's owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues, playing third pairing up on the top power play unit there, and he has points in 3 straight games with 5 shots on goal and 5 blocks in those 3 games. He has talent and starting to get his skates underneath him there as he was injured for the longest time he just recently got back there. And with that, he's taken over the top power play. Obviously, Werenski's out there. He's the next one in line. He's starting to produce, so he should be an okay option for you. Over in Dallas, look at Ryan Suter, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues there. Playing second pairing, second power play unit there. And he has 5 points his last 11 games, so just under half point per game. 3 of those points will be in on the power play with 9 hits and 10 blocks there. He chips in here and there, so he is a little bit risky, but with the heavy start to the week, and he does help out a little bit in other cats, should be an okay option depending on how your league is formatted there. Going over to Detroit, look at Jake Wallman, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the top pairing there, and he has points in 3 straight, and in those 3 games he has 9 shots on goal, 6 hits, and 4 blocks. He's always gotten any kind of hits and blocks throughout the year there. He's bumped up to the top pairing, starting to produce offensively. Might be an okay streamer. I would leave him for really deep leagues only, as there might be safer options ahead of him, but in a real deep league, might be an option for you. Over in Nashville, look at Ryan McDonagh, owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing there, and he has 2 points his last 4 games, and in those 4 games, he's a +3, also has 7 blocks. It's quite a few blocks there. He is streaky, but in certain formats, he could be an okay streamer for you. That's why I mentioned him there. Another one in Nashville is Mattias Ekholm, owned in 12% of Yahoo leagues there. Playing second pairing, second power play unit there. And he has 4 points his last 6 games with 10 shots on goal, 6 blocks, and 6 hits there. Not bad, not great in most categories. His offense has obviously died down from his glory days dating back a few years back there, but he still gets you a little bit of offense, so he should be a safer pick in deeper leagues, a little bit more of a gamble in standard leagues there. Over in Seattle, look at Justin Schultz, owned in 18% of Yahoo leagues there, playing second pairing, currently on the top power play unit, and he has 6 points his last 6 games. And in those 6 games, he's a +9, also has 8 blocks on there. He does have 3 2-point games and then 3 bagels in there, so he is kind of an all or nothing pick, but with 3 games in 4 nights, the way it balances out, if you do stream him for all 3 games, you should be able to squeeze some value out of him. Next one's Ekman-Larsson in Seattle, owned in 62% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing there, and he has 9 points his last 12 games. In those 12 games, he's a +15, 26 shots on goal, 36 hits, 27 blocks. He's basically been doing it all. That offense, it hasn't died off like kind of history kind of dictates it would. So if he's available, grab him. He'll be a great pickup for you. Next one's Dmitry Orlov over in Washington there, owned in 30% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, second power play unit, and he has 2 points his last 4 games, so okay, half point per game, 7 shots on goal, 7 hits, 6 blocks. He gets you a nice amount of shots on goal, hits, and blocks there. That offense is streaky though, so with that, there's a little bit of a risk, but he'll still contribute another cat, so you should be a good streamer for some formats there. Next one is Nick Jensen in Washington there, owned in 10% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing there. He has 5 points his last 7 games, and in those 7 games also has 9 hits and 14 blocks, so really nice block total there. He obviously gets you a decent amount of hits and blocks. His offense is streaky, but better of late, and with him, any offense should be considered a bonus. With the condensed schedule, you may get some value out of certain formats there. Now we'll move along to some forwards that have 3 games in the first 4 nights there. Over in Anaheim, look at Mason McTavish, listed as center left winger, owned in 20% of Yahoo leagues. Up on the top line now and top power play unit, and he has 12 points his last 12 games. 4 of those points being on the power play, 32 shots on goal, and 10 blocks in those 12 games. He's been turning it on, getting rewarded, bumped up to the top line recently. With that will come more ice time. He should just be a pretty much a fairly solid ad for you if you can scoop him up there. Next one is Ryan Strome in Anaheim, listed as a center, owned in 7% of Yahoo leagues. Playing second line, second power play unit there. He has 7 points his last 12 games, and in those 12 games, 21 shots on goal and 6 blocks. He's okay, but not great. So he would be an okay option, keep using the word okay, for deeper leagues there. Over in Boston, look at Pavel Zacha, listed as center, left wing, and right wing. Do like the versatility that you can put him in any forward slot, as there will be some heavier nights mixed in the 3 games and 4 nights. He's owned in 7% of Yahoo leagues. He plays on the second line, second power play unit there. And he has 6 points the last 9 games. And in those 9 games, he's a +7, also has 6 blocks. His offense has been okay, not great, but he's decent in some other cats, not all of them, but he will help you in some formats there. Sticking with Boston, look at David Krejci, listed as a center, owned in 23% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, second power play unit there, and he has 10 points his last 12 games, so decent overall numbers there. In those 12 games, he's a +8, has 20 shots on goal and 8 blocks, so really nice block total for a forward too. He's slowed down a bit, but he's still putting up numbers overall. So with the condensed schedule, 3 games in those 4 nights there, you should be able to get some decent fantasy value out of him. Next one's Charlie Coyle in Boston, listed as a center, owned in 5% of Yahoo leagues there. He's on the third line, second power play unit, and he's put up 8 points his last 11 games with 22 shots on goal and 7 blocks there. He's been pretty good, and in deep leagues, he should be a fairly decent streaming option for you. Over in Buffalo, look at Dylan Cousins, listed as a center, owned in 56% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, top power play unit there, and he has 8 points his last 8 games with 23 shots on goal there. He's had a pretty good year, and he overall been fairly consistent. Couple blips on the radar there, but fairly consistent, and with that, he should be a really good option for your scoring leagues. Next one's Casey Mittelstadt in Buffalo, listed as a center, only owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues there. He's listed on the fourth line, second power play unit there. And he's put up 7 points his last 8 games. He's been really inconsistent, so there definitely is risk involved there. But in a pinch, and if you're in a scoring format, deep scoring format, he might turn out to be an alright option for you. Over in Columbus, look at Kirill Marchenko, listed as a right winger, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the fourth line, second power play unit, and he has 7 goals in the last 10 games. Doesn't have any assists, but 7 goals in 10 games. It's a really nice amount there. 3 of those goals being on the power play, 18 shots on goal, 9 hits, and 7 blocks. He can score, and he's starting to help a bit in other cats of the last few games there, so he would be really nice as a streamer in a deeper league there. Another one in Columbus is Jack Roslovich, listed as a center, owned in 4% of Yahoo leagues, playing second line, top power play unit there. He only has 1 point the last 6 games, but he put up 5 points the previous 5 there. So he is kind of hit or miss, but with 3 games in 4 nights, if you're in a deeper league and want to take a swing, might work out for you there. Over in Dallas, look at Wyatt Johnston, listed as a center, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, plays second line, second power play unit there, and he has 6 points his last 11 games, 23 shots on goal in those 11 games. He is streaky, so there definitely is some risk with him, but in deeper leagues, maybe a gamble that kind of pays off for you. Next one's Lucas Raymond over in Detroit there, listed as a right winger, owned in 42% of Yahoo leagues, up on the top line, second power play unit there. He's put up 13 points his last 11 games, with 6 of those points being on the power play and 10 hits. He's been hot, and he's currently back-to-back 3-point games there, so you should definitely get some value out of him, especially with having the 3 games in 4 nights in the heater that he's on there. Another one in Detroit's Andrew Kopp, listed as center right winger, owned in 13% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the second line there, he has 3 points the last 4 games with 3 blocks, 26 face-off wins. His offense is streaky, but it gets you a nice amount of face-off wins there. So certain formats, that's where you might be able to pull some value out of him. Next one in Detroit is Jonathan Berggren, listed as left winger, right winger, only owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues there. Plays second line, second power play unit there. He has 6 points the last 8 games with 13 shots on goal. He's getting some more ice time, being bumped up in the top 6, and he's starting to produce, so he should be an okay option in your deeper leagues. Over in Florida there, look at Carter Verhaeghe, listed as a left winger, owned in 59% of Yahoo leagues there. Playing second line, second power play unit there, and he has 8 points his last 12 games with 28 shots on goal and 6 blocks there. He's cooled off a bit of late there, but still fairly productive. So he should be a fairly decent option if he is available in your league. His ownership's a little bit higher, getting close to 60 there. Over in Florida again, look at Eric Stahl, listed as a center, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the third line there. He only has 1 point the last 7 games, but before that he put up 8 points in a 5-game stretch there. Maybe you realized how old he actually is and kind of cooled off there. But he's been up and down, so he really is risky. But in real deep leagues, if you're in a pinch there and having 3 games in those 4 nights, might be worth a chance on there. Over in Nashville, look at Huso Parssinen, listed as a center, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues. Playing top line, top power play unit. And he has 7 points in a 5-game point streak right now. And in those 5 games, he also put 8 shots on goal and 7 hits there. He's been hot and should be pretty good in most formats there, especially with having the 3 games in 4 nights there. Next one in Nashville is Nino Niederreiter, listed as a left winger, owned in 16% of Yahoo leagues. Playing third line and second power play unit. He's put up 9 points his last 12 games. In those 12 games, 40 shots on goal and 27 hits there. His offense can be streaky at times, but he will always get you a good amount of shots on goal, decent amount of hits there. So to certain formats, you'll definitely get some value out of him. Another one in Nashville is Thomas Novak, listed as a center, only owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues there. Playing fourth line, but up on the top power play unit there. And he has 8 points his last 12 games. 2 of those points being on the power play and 25 shots on goal in those 12 games. So he gets decent production for only getting fourth line minutes, but he is on the top power play there. I wouldn't use it for a standard league, but if you're in a deeper league there, just with getting that top unit power play time and 8 points last 12 games, that's where you might decide to stream him. Another one in Nashville is Mikael Granlund, listed as center right winger, owned in 11% of Yahoo leagues there. Playing third line, second power play unit. And he's been pointless the last 4 games, but he did have 5 points over the previous 4 games. So offense is obviously kind of on and off there. That's kind of how his season has went. So there is a little bit of risk there, but he can get you points in spurts. Maybe this is the end of the cool spell. Maybe it extends longer, so there is a little bit of a gamble there. It's just a matter of if you're willing to take it. For the Islanders, look at Anders Lee, listed as a left winger, owned in 61% of Yahoo leagues. Playing top line, top power play unit there. And he has 8 points his last 12 games with 31 shots on goal and 12 blocks in there. He does have talent, but he is streaky. That's the biggest issue with Lee. You're either going to love him or hate him. He will still help you in some other cats, though. So in some formats, you definitely will get some value out of him. Another one for the Islanders, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, listed as a center, owned in 26% of Yahoo leagues. Playing third line up on the top power play unit there. And he has 5 points his last 7 games. 2 of those points being on the power play with 29 hits and 11 blocks there. He's been good of late and should be decent, especially in a Cats league for you. Over in Seattle, look at Matty Beniers, listed as a center, owned in 49% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there, and he has 9 points in his last 6 games. And in those 6 games, he's a +9, has a couple of power play points, 15 shots on goal, 9 hits, 5 blocks. He's been hot, contributing in most cats, so he should be a fairly solid option for you in week 15 there. Next one's Andrei Burakovsky, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 44% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit. He's back where he should be, 7 points over the last 5 games there, +7, and 2 of those points being on the power play. He's heating back up after a little slow stretch there. He started out really, really good, had a little blip on the radar, now he's heating back up there again. So with the condensed schedule, we'll definitely look at adding him. Another one in Seattle, Jordan Eberle, listed as a right winger, owned in 22% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there, and he has 7 points over the last 5 games. And in those 5 games, he's a +7 with 9 shots on goal and 3 blocks there. He is kind of hot or cold, so he is risky, but he's hot right now, so he might be worth the gamble heading into next week there. Another one in Seattle's Yanni Gourde, listed as a center, owned in 11% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the third line there, and he has 8 points over his last 7 games. Pretty nice amount of offense there. +8 in those 7 games, 16 shots on goal, 10 hits, and 8 blocks. He's been fairly solid the last few weeks there, and you should definitely get some value if you do stream him. Another one in Seattle's Daniel Sprong, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 9% of Yahoo leagues, playing fourth line, but up on the top power play unit. He's put up 10 points his last 11 games, so basically point per game player. 2 of those points being on the power play and 28 shots on goal. Great production for a fourth liner. Has to be right up there with the highest scoring fourth liners in the league there. Does also get top unit power play time, so for deep leagues, should be an excellent streaming option. Over in Tampa Bay, look at Brandon Hagel, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 59% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there, and he has 14 points over his last 12 games. 4 of those points being on the power play with 33 shots on goal and 10 blocks. He's been pretty consistent all year, and definitely stream him if he is available in your league there. Next one's Anthony Cirelli in Tampa there, listed as center left winger, owned in 12% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the second line in Tampa, and he has 2 points the last 3 games. A little bit of a slow stretch, or a small stretch, should say. +2 in those 3 games with 7 blocks. His offense has been really sporadic, but he did get bumped up to the second line there with Stamkos. Seen a little uptick in production. He is risky because he could easily move down to the third line slot there, but kind of a risk-reward kind of a play in deeper leagues. Next one is Connor Sheary over in Washington there, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 24% of Yahoo leagues, currently listed on the third line in Washington. He only has 1 point over the last 4 games, but he did put up 7 points in the previous 5 games there. With Backstrom and Wilson coming back, it could affect Sheary's value there. He was really good on Ovi's line, so for him, I'm going to leave him just for deeper leagues. Want to see it kind of play out on how they kind of juggle those lines and fit in Backstrom and Wilson, but could be an option for you if you're in a real deep league. Same kind of thing. Sonny Milano, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 1% of Yahoo leagues. He's up on the top line right now. He has 8 points the last 12 games, and in those 12 games, he's a +8, 21 shots on goal. He is kind of hot and cold, but he is in the top 6. Even with Backstrom and Wilson coming back, he actually got bumped up to Ovechkin's line from the second line there. So with him, I'm a little more secure on how it's going to play out, where I might stream him before Sheary right now. But both of them are options with that condensed schedule. And if you're in a deep league, that's the big thing. Make sure you're in a deep league there. So now we'll move along to some D-men that play on Wednesday there. We have already covered the Islanders, Boston, Dallas, and Tampa. So these are just the remaining teams for Wednesday there. Start off in Colorado. Look at Samuel Girard, owned in 9% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, second power play unit there. And he has 3 points the last 4 games with 5 hits and 5 blocks in there. He's been better of late offensively anyways. He does get you some hits and blocks, so he should be all right in certain formats there. Going over to Calgary, look at Nikita Zadorov, owned in 16% of Yahoo leagues, playing third pairing there. He's put up 3 points the last 5 games with 4 hits and 3 blocks in there. He definitely does get his hits over the course of the season there, and that's where his main fantasy value will come from. But he's getting a bit of offense of late, blocking a few more shots there. So those will be considered a bonus, obviously, offense there, but he will be okay in some formats there. Over in San Jose, look at Marc-Edouard Vlasic, 0% owned, so available everywhere there, playing on the second pairing, and he has 4 points the last 6 games with 6 hits and 8 blocks. He's not known for his offense, but he is getting some of late. But realistically, just with his track record, he's only a streamer in real deep leagues right now. Another one in San Jose to consider a little bit more often than Vlasic is Matt Benning. He's owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, second power play unit there. He has 5 points the last 8 games, and in those 8 games he has 12 hits and 14 blocks. He definitely gets his hits and blocks. His offense has been not right up there with the top of the league, but it's been fairly consistent over the last little while, so he should be an okay streamer, especially in your deeper formats. Next one, over in Pittsburgh, possibly look at Jeff Petrie, owned in 49% of Yahoo leagues. He's starting to skate this week and should be back soon. Do check his availability before you do pick him up, but if he's getting close, that's where you might be able to get some value out of him, obviously if he is available there. Another one in Pittsburgh is Ty Smith. He's owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, up in the top power play unit right now. And he has 3 points in his last 3 games with 9 shots on goal, 2 of those points being on the power play and 6 hits. He's been good the last few games there, but it really could change because it's really dependent on Letang and Petrie's status there. So don't stream them too early. Wait till the 11th hour, so to speak, and possibly pick them up there. Over in Vancouver, look at Oliver Ekman-Larsson. He's owned in 12% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, second power play unit there. He has 4 points the last 4 games with 6 blocks. He was a healthy scratch last game, though. He won't be a healthy scratch for long. That's too much money sitting in the press box there. So he should be back in the lineup. I think it's more of a message sent because his plus minus has really kind of pooped the bed the last little bit here. But production is there sporadically. Overall, good of late. It's been a little sporadic over the season. In deeper leagues, that's where you might be able to get some value out of him, especially on a light night. And the last one in Vancouver is Luke Shen. He's owned in 52% of Yahoo leagues. He's playing on the top line there. He has 6 points in his last 10 games with 53 hits. 53, that's crazy. And 18 blocks in those 10 games. His recent offense is a bit of a surprise. Any offense out of him should be considered a bonus, but you know you're definitely going to get hits and you're definitely going to get some blocks in there. That's where the value is going to be if you do decide to stream him. So now we'll move on to some remaining Wednesday forwards. Do remember we've already covered the Islanders, Boston, Dallas, and Tampa earlier in the episode here. So these are your remaining Wednesday forwards. Start off in Colorado again. Look at Evan Rodriguez, listed as center, left wing, and right wing. Owned in 16% of Yahoo leagues. He's playing on the top line and top power play unit. And he currently has 9 points in a 7-game point streak there with 23 shots on goal. He's hot right now and on McKinnon's line. We know how people kind of feed off of McKinnon there. Rodriguez is doing that. Rodriguez also did it last year for a stretch on Crosby's line in Pittsburgh there. So he should be a fairly solid pickup for you. Next one is JT Compher in Colorado, listed as center right winger, owned in 18% of Yahoo leagues. He's centering that second line, second power play unit there, and he has 8 points his last 9 games with 29 shots on goal and 10 blocks in there. He's been fairly good the last few weeks, and you should get some nice value, especially on a light night. Over in Calgary, look at Andrew Mangiapane, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 27% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the third line, second power play unit there. He's put up 4 points his last 5 games with 9 shots on goal, 7 hits, and 3 blocks. He's definitely down from last year, but he's been better the last week and a half to 2 weeks here. If you're in a pinch, he could be an okay option for you. Over in San Jose, look at Kevin Labanc, listed as left winger, right winger, only owned in 4% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the top line, second power play unit there. He's put up 6 points his last 7 games. In those 7 games, he has 13 shots on goal, 12 hits, and 4 blocks in there. He is kind of hit and miss. Seems to be kind of a 2-point game or nothing with him. So with it being a light night, knock on wood, it is a 2-point game for you, and you definitely get some exceeded value. Next one is Matt Nieto in San Jose, listed as left winger, right winger. Available everywhere, 0% owned. No lineups to shop for him, so to speak. He's on the second line, second power play unit there. He does have 3 points his last 4 games and 8 shots on goal. Reason he's 0% owned is offense is really sporadic. You're really not quite sure what you're going to get there. So it definitely is risky, but in a real deep league, and if you're in a pinch, that's where you might decide to take a chance there, and it is a chance. Next one in San Jose is Logan Couture, listed as a center, owned in 49% of Yahoo leagues. Playing second line, top power play unit there. He has 5 points his last 5 games, 11 shots on goal, 6 hits, 5 blocks. Kind of the same story anytime we're covering San Jose. Other than plus minus, he contributes in pretty much every other category. So if he is available, you will get some value out of Couture there. Next one in San Jose is Alexander Barabanov, listed as left winger, right winger, only owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues. He's playing on the second line and top power play unit there, and he has points in 6 straight games there, so on obviously a roll. 12 shots on goal and 5 hits in those 6 games. It's been a bit streaky through the course of the season, but he's hot right now, so especially in deeper leagues, ride the hot hand. Not too many people are available in deeper leagues. He's only 6% owned, where you got a guy on a 6-game point streak. Over in Pittsburgh, look at Brian Rust, listed as a right winger, owned in 55% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the top line, second power play unit there, and he has 8 points his last 11 games. And out of those 8 points, 3 of them have been on the power play, and 25 shots on goal in those 11 games. He had a horrible start, but he's been fairly good the last basically 2 months, well, a month and a half now, I guess. But so he should be an okay option for you, especially on a light night. Next one in Pittsburgh's Jason Zucker, listed as a left winger, owned in 20% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the second line, second power play unit there, and he has 6 points the last 9 games, and in those 9 games, 15 shots on goal and 27 hits there. Zucker kind of tends to show up and then he disappears there. He's kind of like a Houdini or Copperfield anyways. So he is risky, but on a light night, he might be an okay option for you if he decides to show up then. In Vancouver, look at Andrei Kuzmenko, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 44% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the top line, top power play unit there. He's put up 10 points his last 10 games. He definitely puts up his points and be a very good streaming option for you in your scoring leagues. Last one's Brock Besser in Vancouver, listed as a right winger, owned in 44% of Yahoo leagues. Playing second line, second power play unit there. And he has 7 points his last 8 games. Also has 4 blocks in those 8 games. He is streaky, so there is some risk there, but on a light night, he does have talent there, so he could be an okay option for you. That's it for today's episode. Don't forget to check out www.247clash.com. Do check it out. Check up the link on top on how to play. If you do decide to sign up, use referral code LTC. And if you're watching via YouTube, please remember to hit subscribe. Remember that notification bell as we're trying to grow the channel. If you're listening via podcast, same thing. Remember to hit subscribe, hit that heart, hit follow, give a review, etc. We'd really like to see the support there, and hopefully you're getting value out of these episodes. We'll be out in a bit with our weekend ads and our midweek waiver wire episodes, and we'll talk to you soon. Good luck there, fantasy owners.